Well, it is Monday, so that means one thing. It's time for another edition of 3 Point Stands presented by Mountain Dew. I'm Meghan Triplett, and I got my guy John Roser up bright and early to talk some weekend madness. But let's first talk about
I didn't sleep last night. I did not sleep last night. It was all.
I figured
I was so gassed up on the 49ers win. No, I'm not kidding. I mean, I slept. I did not go to bed until I think 2 a.m. when I went to sleep. Yeah.
Wow. Well, you know what? I went to bed. I went to bed after our Memphis Grizzlies wrapped up the 2019 year with a big win over the Charlotte Hornets. And this has led us to talking about where the Grizzlies are, especially coming out early in this year. They're 13-21. A lot of people didn't even expect the Grizzlies to be this good. So when you go into 2020, where do you predict the Grizzlies will be? And are you shocked that where we sit right now?
I am very shocked at where the Grizzlies sit right now. I always thought that this would be a team. You got a first-year head coach, basically, and a first-year coaching staff led by Taylor Jenkins, and you're starting a rookie point guard. You're relying heavily on a second-year big man who is still the youngest player on your team. You had Dylan Brooks coming back from a season-long injury. Kyle Anderson coming back from a big injury that kept him out a ton of last season. You got new guys in Jay Crowder. Solomon Hill really didn't get to play that much last season. So you really didn't know, are his days in the NBA over? What can he really bring to the table? DeAnthony Melton, I mean, he's been in Phoenix, and, the Phoenix Suns obviously have not been good. You didn't know what you're getting there. Grayson Allen barely played last year for the Utah Jazz. Obviously, Valanciunas, we knew what Valanciunas brought to the table. We were able to see that over years in Toronto and with the Grizzlies last season. I do the post-game show on the radio with Eric Hasseltine, and we were talking about it last night. And I couldn't be more complimentary to where they are. I thought how they were playing right now. I mean, they went 8-8 in the month of December, 7-5 in their last 12 games. I thought what they're doing right now, I thought this is what we'd start to see in late January, early February, post-All-Star break. How they're playing and how it seems like it's all coming together. That's what I thought we would start to see. But Ja Morant has been even better than advertised. Jaren Jackson seems to have gotten the foul problem, seems to have gotten it under control a little bit. And I thought one of the things he said last night in the locker room that was really good, getting that advice from Solomon Hill when he said, sometimes, if you're not going to be able to get your body vertical, if you can't get over and get your body vertical, sometimes you just got to let guys go. And Jaren having 3 fouls in the first half and then none in the second half. And he said that after the game. That's some veteran advice from a guy like Solomon Hill that I think that goes. That's not something you don't see that advice on the court. That's something that Solomon's probably been telling him in the locker room over and over again. And it just, for a young player like Jaren, it takes a little while to kick in. But a massive credit to Taylor Jenkins and his staff and how they have these guys playing. Even that Denver game over the weekend, we saw them when they played Denver at the Forum. And Denver ran off on them in the second quarter, and then it was like they just fell apart, and it just all went to, it just withered away. And they never gave up in that Denver game. They kept playing, and they kept fighting, and that was promising to see. And then even yesterday, before we've seen in the season, Charlotte got that 20-point lead. They got it down to 5 a couple of times, and the Grizzlies responded both times with 7-0 runs. And that is the sign. It is cliche to say, we're just trying to get better every day. We're just playing hard and trying to get better every day. But they really are. They're getting better every day, and they continue to play hard. So look, I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not ready to say that because there are some other teams I think that have a little bit more, a little bit deeper of rosters, and I think they have trades they can make to get a little bit better. So I think that might put the Grizzlies on the outside looking in. But where they are right now, I think everybody expected them to be 14-15 in the West. And the fact that they're sitting at 10th and a game and a half back in the playoffs says, you got to tip your cap to Taylor Jenkins and the players on the team.
Yeah, Coach Jenkins said it best, this has been monumental growth. And, every time, the history of it, we lose, we come back and get a big win. And you can see that growth consistently after every single game. And the best thing about it is that the players, they're gelling. You can tell that they're having those relationships on the court and off the court. You see it in the locker room, as you mentioned, with Solo giving, Jaren that great advice. but I didn't expect it to be this good. You know, I knew Job was going to be good. I didn't expect for us to be in this situation, especially when you look at the playoff race. And I know it's early, but to be a game and a half back, I didn't even think that we would even be talking about that. We wouldn't even be close after week 1. But it's been absolutely amazing, and I'm shocked by it, and I can't wait to see how we take 2020 and the rest of the regular season and where we end up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we end up in the playoffs. I think that we have that potential. It'd be absolutely amazing.
It would be amazing. And to quote the former Memphis football coach Mike Norvell, he tweeted this weekend. It was halftime during the Cotton Bowl, and he was obviously watching the Memphis game, and he tweeted, "Response is what defines you." And this Grizzlies team, they've been responding.
Well, you know what else happened this weekend? Who responded this weekend? College football, the playoff games were this weekend. LSU responded big time over Oklahoma. I think a lot of people predicted LSU to win. I don't think we predicted them to win like the way that they did, have 50-something points already in the first half. And then Clemson-Ohio State, that game was absolutely amazing. It was down to the wire. What did you see from this college football playoff games over the weekend?
Well, I mean, the fact is, the truth has been all season that the 3 best teams in the country, there have been a tier of 3 teams that are by far the best teams in the country, and that's been LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson. In whatever order you wanted to put them in before the playoff games happened, those have been the 3 best teams in the country. I think you could say probably who the 4th best team in the country is. Probably Alabama. If Alabama has 2, I think we think Alabama is definitely the 4th best team in the country. They don't have 2, but it's clear Oklahoma does not belong in that same category with LSU, Ohio State, and Clemson. So LSU bombed them. Joe Burrow set records that are probably never going to be broken. He threw for 400 yards in the first half, threw for 7 touchdowns in the first half. Jefferson Kid had 4 touchdowns and like 200 yards receiving in the first half. I mean, it was total domination in Atlanta for LSU, how they just dominated Oklahoma. Now, Clemson, Ohio State was an amazing game. And I was not surprised Ohio State jumped out like that. I've watched that team all year. I've made money on that team all year. So I know what that team is capable of. I know how devastating they can be. But I did say I watched that game with our coworker, Chris Vernon. I went over to his house and watched it. And we were both saying the same thing. Ohio State is going to regret kicking these field goals in the first half and not getting in the end zone. J.K. Dobbins, Justin Fields could have thrown a better ball to him in the end zone that Dobbins had to dive for and ended up not catching, ended up ruling it a touchdown, but it was overturned. And then they set up Dobbins on a perfect screen pass down near there around the 20-yard line, 15, 20-yard line, and Dobbins dropped it. And if he doesn't drop that, he's going to walk in the end zone because he just has a fleet of blockers out in front of him. And those are multiple plays right there where if Ohio State gets touchdowns out of them, they win that game with there's no problem. They win that game easily. And I knew that. I thought that's going to come back to bite them. And sure enough, it did, because you're playing a team that is championship tested in Clemson. Trevor Lawrence has never lost a game, and they made the plays. Their last 2 drives were unbelievable. That last drive they had 95 yards in 4 plays. I mean, that's what championship teams can do. They get put in that spot and they can go down there and respond. Lawrence has been in that spot. Justin Fields had not been in that spot. And then you have the miscommunication with Olave, and he ends up throwing the interception that sealed the game for Clemson. They were both fantastic games, and it sets up LSU Clemson. I think right now LSU is now up to a 6-point favorite in that game. It's tough to bet against LSU right now, but you got the reigning champions in Clemson. It's tough to bet against LSU when you see how they look. There are other controversies in that Ohio State Clemson.
That was a lot of bad calls. Some calls were made in that game.
I thought that was a catch and a fumble, and it should have been a scoop and score for Ohio State. That should have been the targeting call too, which also led Clemson to their first touchdown, was ridiculous to me too. I mean, the defender went in to wrap up. He did not lean. He wasn't leaning with his head to try to just do a headshot to Trevor Lawrence. He went in a wrap-up position, wrapping his arms, trying to wrap his arms up. And Lawrence ducked his head down to where the defender's helmet was then going to collide with Lawrence, and you get targeting and he gets thrown out of the game. And that's a player in Ohio State secondary that's now gone. I mean, there's got to be some change to the rule. Like, I don't know what the defender is supposed to do in that situation. you're going in and you're about to hit him totally legally, and because Lawrence ducks his head down, so you hit him helmet to helmet. That to me is, I mean, football's a physical game, and I get trying to take some of the injuries out of it. But football is a physical game, and guys are going to get hit in the head. It's going to happen, and that's just a natural reaction by Lawrence. He's ducking because he's trying to brace himself from getting hit too hard, and the defender is coming in a wrap-up position, not trying to hurt him. I'd love to see some rule changes on that.
You know, you went everywhere on that on that take. In my opinion, controversial calls. I actually thought that it was an incomplete pass. I know everyone was like, "Oh my goodness, no! It should have been a catch, a fumble, a scoop up for Ohio State." But what I liked about is that Clemson responded. Even after that, Ohio State responded. You can't wrap your head around on these bad calls, and you have to respond and keep your head in the game. And I know that that's going to be the conversation after that game over and over again. And that last play of Ohio State, they had an opportunity. They had that chance. And that was just a messed up, change the route. I don't know, miscommunication. I felt bad for Justin Fields because it was just even for a quarterback like that, when there is a miscommunication, you have to adjust. You got to adjust in some way, and there was no adjustment, and there was enough time on the clock to possibly, do something differently. And I hated it for them, but I was shocked by Clemson. When Clemson got down to 13-0, I really was a little concerned. I said, what is Clemson doing? But Clemson always does that. And Trevor Lawrence, being Trevor Lawrence, came in and even said, like, you know what? We know that we can play this game. Dabo kept his cool, and I can't wait for Clemson and LSU. It's really hard to make a pick after you have a team like LSU scored 63 points on a team. It's hard to not pick them in this game, but it makes it for an exciting matchup in the national championship game. And we're not going to give our winner just yet. We have to wait till next week.
One other thing on that. If you didn't think that was a catch and a fumble, you did not think it was.
I did not.
Obviously, my glasses were cleaner than yours that night. My glasses were cleaner than yours.
But I said I could see it both. I honestly see it both ways. I thought it was odd that they reversed the call, because I know when you call it as a touchdown,
and he took steps too.
I thought the ball moved a little bit, and he didn't really have clear possession of the ball. And even with those 2 steps, there was no clear possession. But I get it. I said I was shocked that it was reversed. Because when I saw, I was like, I thought it was an incomplete pass. I was shocked that it was reversed, because I thought that when you look at it, there has to be complete evidence, no question. I did think there was a question. So I was like, you know what? They're going to keep it for a touchdown. And then they reversed, and I was like, oh, usually that's not how it happens.
What stinks is that one of those teams had to lose, because those teams, right. I'm like, both of these teams are awesome, and both of them on any other year would be worthy of being called national champions. That that one of these teams had to lose. They are both good enough to win the national championship, and it stinks that one of them actually has to lose, and one of them is not going to get to play for the national championship. Those teams could play 10 times, and they'd each win 5 times. They were both Clemson and Ohio State, both awesome teams, and both
great seasons, both amazing seasons. But you know what? Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence, I can't wait. Like, I cannot wait till next.
Would Joe Burrow against Ohio State have been the better story? Joe Burrow originally went to Ohio State.
I know it would have been. Yes, of course, it would have been a better story. It would have been a better story. But I want to see. I call Trevor Lawrence Mr. Sunshine. I want to see Mr. Sunshine and Joe Burrow go up against each other. It would have been a great story, but maybe it wasn't the story that we needed. LSU playing Ohio State. It might not have been the story that we needed. So now we don't have to talk about it. Now we just got two football programs playing each other. It should be a great game.
I saw, between watching LSU play and even Oklahoma with CeeDee Lamb and some of their other guys and those LSU players on both sides of the ball, and then that Clemson-Ohio State game, I'm like, my God, how many of these guys are going to be playing on Sundays in the NFL? Like, there is so much speed and talent out there, and just how that Ohio State defense, how they hit you is just like, there were in that Clemson-Ohio State game, there were so many hits, like I cringed at. I'm like, God, that was just violent. Like, I'd be out for like the rest of my life. My career would have been over with some of those hits in that game.
We could talk about this all day, but we're running out of time, and I got to talk to you about the NFL because you already mentioned your 49ers. Congratulations. I'm super happy and proud of you. I'm surprised you don't have a 49ers shirt on right now.
We're here. It's I got this hustle game. I got to rock. I got to rock my hustle today.
Okay, I knew it was somewhere. I'm shocked. Let's talk about the NFL really quickly because the postseason, the playoffs, it's all set. The regular season is over. Teams who are done, coaches are getting fired today. It's NFL Black Monday today. But what game are you looking forward to the most in the playoffs coming up next week?
I mean, well, for me, from a 49ers fan perspective, the Seahawks and the Eagles, because we play the winner of that game. And we could play Seattle again. I'd rather play Philadelphia. The Seattle games take 20 years off my life. Every time we play the Seahawks, they take. Russell Wilson is the most terrifying quarterback in the league. I cannot stand him, but I have so much respect for him. That guy is unbelievable. So for me, Seahawks, Eagles, I will say I think a lot of these games are going to be good. I think the worst of these games is the Vikings and Saints. Kirk Cousins against Drew Brees. Like, what are we talking about here? The Saints, the Saints are, to me, the Saints, I think, are just going to roll through Minnesota. I know you've got your eye on that Titans-Patriots.
I do, but that's just history. I'm a Titans fan. That's history. Do you know how amazing it would be for our state, for our Titans fans, if we get past the Patriots? That's like winning the Super Bowl. I don't need anything else. I'm like, you can stop right then and there. If we can
there's a lot of stuff with this game, too. I don't know if you know. So it's the first time since, I think, 1985 that a pupil is facing his former head coach. So Mike Vrabel, who played for Bill Belichick in New England, facing his former coach. It's the first time it's happened since the Patriots and Dolphins played in the 85 AFC Championship game.
Oh.
And it was Raymond Berry coaching the Patriots against Don Shula's Miami Dolphins. And the Patriots ended up beating the Dolphins in the AFC Championship game. So the pupil won that game. So maybe that bodes well for you. The other one with Derrick Henry, the running back for the Titans, he became the first Heisman Trophy running back, Heisman Trophy winning player to lead the NFL in rushing, to win the NFL's rushing title since Ricky Williams in 2002. It's just interesting things right there between the Titans and the Patriots heading into this game. Derrick Henry was a monster yesterday. That A.J. Brown kid that they got from Ole Miss. I watched him at Ole Miss. That kid was a stud at Ole Miss. It's crazy that they had him and DK Metcalf and only won 5 games in Oxford. That just seemed ridiculous. They should have averaged 60 points a game or something with those two guys out there. Just throw the ball in the air to them. But that Titans team is clicking right now. Ryan Tannehill also 0-6 all-time in New England. Okay. So number one there. So, again, there's some interesting things coming into this game. And if you look at how they're both playing, I'd lean towards the Titans, especially getting 4.5 points.
I'm leaning towards the Titans because that's just my heart. The Patriots, I am not a Patriots fan, like whatsoever. I've never been one. My dad raised me to not be one. And I literally cringe every time they win. I don't want to see them win. So this one would really give me so much joy to get a win at Gillette Stadium. And we know Patriots fans are crazy. They're like no other. To have them walk out of Gillette Stadium in tears, knowing that, oh my gosh, we didn't even get past the first team, that would be absolutely amazing. And you know what? I think no one it's like the Grizzlies. No one expected them to be where they are. No one expected the Titans to be where they are. And Memphis, Nashville, from Knoxville, we would go absolutely crazy for the Titans. It'll feel like that time when Eddie George and Steve McNair are playing, and I cannot wait. I'm excited for it.
Well, I won't be going crazy over the Titans, but if you're fine, you can say the rest of the state will be. That's totally fun. And I'll say, this is not the same New England team 2 years ago that blasted the Titans in the playoffs. This is not that same team. That defense is finally showing some cracks because they've had to carry that team for most of the season because that offense has not been clicking. You've seen that offense with New England, and now you know why Tom Brady pushed so hard behind the scenes for them to not release Antonio Brown, because he knew they needed him. And they do need him. Now, even if they had him now, he's on the commissioner's exempt list, so he wouldn't be able to play. The other playoff game we haven't got to are the Bills and the Texans. Yeah. I think Buffalo, that Will Fuller injury for Houston is everything with them. If Fuller can play and he's healthy, Houston's a different team, and Houston could actually go through the AFC if they have Fuller and he's healthy. Problem is, Will Fuller's never healthy. He's healthy 1 week, and then he's not healthy for 2 weeks. And if he's not, that Buffalo team, I think Buffalo's going to go in there and beat that Texans team. I'll take the coaching of McDermott over Bill O'Brien any day, and I love Deshaun Watson. But that Buffalo team, I think that Buffalo team has a toughness that Houston team doesn't have. As far as the conferences, the AFC and the NFC, I think in the AFC, it sounds – I mean, it's to me – I'm actually going to say Kansas City. I'm going to go Kansas City over Baltimore. I think Kansas City's the best team. Well, Baltimore's been the best team. Their point differential's been insane all season long because they've routed teams. But Kansas City has beaten them. So maybe Baltimore gets a chance to avenge that loss. I'm going to go with Kansas City.
Oh, no. I'm going Lamar Jackson all the way. I'm not. I want it for him. Patrick Mahomes is another young quarterback that I like. Last year was his year. Now it's Lamar Jackson's year. I want to see him win that one.
The NFC, we've already beaten them. Mm-hmm. And so I think at least if we get to the point where we get lucky enough to play them again, it'll have to be we'll get them on the home field. New Orleans is the team that is. Yeah. Drew Brees after yesterday now has 4 of the 5 most efficient passing seasons in NFL history. Wow. The top 5 most efficient seasons for a quarterback in NFL history. Drew Brees has 4 of them. I think we forget sometimes how awesome Drew Brees is. Mm-hmm. And he is without a doubt. I think you could easily say a top 5 quarterback of all time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Easily.
There were people that did top 10 lists here recently because the NFL 100, and some people didn't have Drew Brees in their top 10. I'm like, what in the world are you watching with Drew Brees? I mean, he was for somebody that Tom Brady looks like he slowed down this year. Drew Brees is not slowed down. He still looks unbelievable.
Drew Brees looks good. Tom Brady has slowed down. Like I can't imagine what he's doing at his age. Drew Brees is another quarterback that I can't even fathom what he's able to accomplish still out there on that field.
No, New Orleans to me, I mean, the 49ers, obviously, we played a ton of close games. So we're battle tested with it. We've shown we can blow teams out. We blew out the Browns. We blew out the Panthers.
Talk about the 49ers. Y'all have a bye week. Let us have our chance to talk about the other teams.
And we blew out the Packers. But we've also played a lot of close games between Seattle, Baltimore, New Orleans. And, I mean, I think the 2 best teams are the Saints and the 49ers in the conference. I mean, they are the 2 best teams in the NFC. And in the AFC, it's Baltimore and Kansas City are the 2 best teams there.
You just find a way to bring up the 49ers. You just had to find a way. You're not even playing next week.
I think New Orleans is actually going to come out of the NFC. All the bad juju that the bad luck that New Orleans has had the last 2 years, mm-hmm. I think it's probably their time. And I will actually be super happy for Saints fans if they're able to get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl this year. Because I know tons of Saints fans. That's a great city. They love their team. And I know tons of Saints fans. And, they've been through it here these last couple of years. So my pick coming out of the NFC is New Orleans.
Oh, but I didn't even ask you for your pick. You're giving too many stances too early. This is our longest episode to date.
I know.
Save this for next week.
I've got to get to a hustle game.
Yeah, you got to get to a hustle game. All right, Roser, thanks so much for joining me for another edition of 3 Point Stand. Same time, same place next week. It's going to be an absolutely amazing show because obviously Roser loves talking about NFL. We got college football playoff national championship game to talk about too. So make sure you're tuned in. Until then, we'll see ya.